They tell you to chase success. They tell you to work hard, grind every day, stay hungry, stay focused. But nobody teaches you what success really feels like. Nobody tells you what it costs. Nobody warns you about the parts that don't fit into a quote on Instagram. Let's talk about it. Most people are taught that success is a destination, a goal to reach, a place you arrive at after checking all the boxes. Graduate, get the job, make the money, buy the house, start the business, win the award. And once you get there, you're supposed to feel complete, fulfilled, done. But nobody tells you that success doesn't work that way. It's not a finish line. It's not a single moment. In fact, success, real, lasting, meaningful success, isn't a goal at all. It's a byproduct. It's the result of how you live, how you show up, and what you give your heart to every single day. You don't chase success. You attract it by becoming the kind of person who earns it. That's the part they don't teach in school. You're told to dream big, and that's important. But dreams without direction become distractions. If you're only focused on the outcome, you'll miss the deeper magic of the process. Because the process is where you grow. The process is where you change. The process is where you build the habits, the mindset, and the resilience that success requires. And here's the truth most people miss. When you fall in love with the process, success becomes inevitable. Think about it. The athlete doesn't become a champion on game day. They become a champion in the hours no one sees. In the early morning workouts, the painful recovery sessions, the relentless practice, the discipline to do it again and again when no one is clapping. The reward isn't what makes them great. Their love for the work is. The same is true for you. Whether you're building a business, mastering a skill, creating something meaningful, or simply becoming the best version of yourself, the joy and the transformation happen during the work, not after. When you make success the goal, it's easy to get frustrated because results don't come right away. You start questioning yourself, you compare your progress to others, you feel like you're falling behind. But when you shift your focus from the outcome to the input, when your aim becomes showing up with purpose, improving with intention, and staying consistent even when it's hard, you free yourself from the pressure of trying to arrive. You realize you're already in the middle of something powerful, something worth being proud of. Success, when it finally shows up, won't be the moment you expect it. It'll sneak in through the back door while you're busy working. It'll show up in the confidence you've built, in the people you've impacted, in the problems you've solved, in the peace you've found, doing something that matters to you. It won't feel like a victory parade. It'll feel like alignment, like truth, like coming home to yourself. That's the part nobody teaches you. If you want to be successful, stop obsessing over being successful. Start focusing on being better, on being consistent, on being patient, on being kind, on being courageous enough to keep going even when no one notices. That's when things begin to shift. That's when success finds you. Because the real ones, the ones who make it, they don't chase a trophy, they build a life. And the irony is, the more you let go of the obsession with success, the more it starts to show up in your life, quietly, steadily, authentically, not as a goal, but as a byproduct of who you've become. We grow up hearing that hard work is the key to everything. That if you just put your head down and grind, success will eventually come. So we hustle, we stay up late, we wake up early, we give it everything we've got, but somewhere along the way we start to feel stuck, burned out, unfulfilled. Not because we're lazy, but because we're moving fast without knowing where we're going. That's the part nobody tells you. Hard work is powerful, but it's not enough. Without direction, hard work can become a trap, a cycle of effort without meaning. You can run 1,000 miles in the wrong direction and still feel like you're making progress. But deep down, there's a disconnect. You're exhausted, yet unsatisfied, busy, yet unmotivated. You start questioning if the hustle is even worth it. And that's because hard work on its own doesn't guarantee results. It only guarantees exertion. What matters more than how hard you work is why you're working in the first place. Direction gives your work purpose. It gives your actions focus. It turns random effort into intentional progress. When you have direction, every step you take is aligned with something bigger, something that matters to you. You're not just doing things to stay busy. You're building towards something that feels right, something that energizes you instead of draining you. So many people are overworked, not because they aren't capable, but because they're disconnected from their own vision. They've been told to climb the ladder, but nobody ever asked them if it was leaning against the right wall. They perceive goals they never question, a job they don't love, a lifestyle they don't enjoy, a version of success that doesn't reflect who they are. And that disconnect creates quiet frustration. You can feel it, that sense of running but not arriving, working but not growing. But when you stop and get clear on your direction, when you ask the uncomfortable questions about who you are, what you want, and why it matters, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your actions become more precise. You stop chasing everything and start focusing on the right things. You still work hard, but now your work feels meaningful. You're not burning fuel just to keep the engine running. You're actually getting somewhere. Clarity isn't always easy to find. Sometimes you have to slow down to discover it. That's hard in a world that glorifies non-stop movement. But slowing down isn't quitting, it's recalibrating. It's asking, what am I really working toward? And being honest about the answer. Because once you know where you want to go, even the hardest days have a purpose. And that purpose is what keeps you going long after motivation wears off. Direction is the compass. Hard work is the vehicle. You need both. One without the other leads to frustration or stagnation. Together, they create momentum that actually matters. So don't just hustle blindly. Don't mistake busyness for effectiveness. Take the time to understand your path. Define what success means to you, not to your parents, not to society, not to anyone else. Then build your work ethic around that. Let your energy serve your vision, not just your calendar. Because life is too short to work hard on the wrong things. The goal isn't to be the most exhausted, it's to be the most fulfilled. And fulfillment comes when your direction is clear and your hard work is aimed at something that truly lights you up. That's when the grind becomes growth. That's when effort becomes impact. We live in a world that celebrates talent. From a young age, we're taught to admire the smartest, the fastest, the most gifted, the people who seem to have a natural edge. But here's what nobody tells you. Talent might open the door, but it's consistency that keeps it open. You don't have to be the smartest in the room. You just have to be the one who keeps showing up. Consistency is underrated because it's not flashy. It doesn't make headlines. It's not exciting to watch someone quietly do the work day in and day out. But that's exactly where growth happens, not in the big dramatic moments, but in the small, repetitive ones that compound over time. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't always feel ready, but they showed up, they put in the reps, and eventually they passed everyone else. Consistency beats talent when talent doesn't try. You can be incredibly smart, but if you only act when you feel like it, you'll be outrun by someone with less talent but more discipline. The person who writes 1 page a day will finish the book. The person who works out 3 times a week, year after year, will transform their body. The person who makes one small improvement to their craft each day becomes a master over time. It's not about intensity, it's about repetition. The truth is, consistency is a mindset. It's the decision to keep going even when progress feels invisible, especially when it does. Because the hardest part about consistency is that results rarely show up right away. You work in silence. You grind with no applause. You question if any of it is even working, but one day it clicks. The compound effect kicks in. What once felt like struggle becomes second nature. And people start to notice not because you got lucky, but because you stayed committed when others quit. That's what separates the average from the great. Not genius, not luck, just an unwillingness to stop. Most people don't fail because they weren't capable. They fail because they gave up too early. They were waiting to feel motivated. But consistency doesn't rely on motivation. It relies on habits, on structure, on knowing your why so clearly that you keep going even when the emotion fades. And here's the best part. Consistency is a skill. You can build it. You don't have to be born with it. You just start small. You set one commitment and you follow through. You make a promise to yourself and you keep it. That's how self-trust is built. That's how momentum is created, not by doing everything all at once, but by doing the smartest, the most talented, or the most charismatic might give you a head start. It's the ones who don't stop, the ones who choose consistency over perfection, who ultimately win. Because life doesn't reward what you could do. It rewards what you actually do, again and again. So no, you don't have to be the smartest. You don't need all the answers. You just need to keep showing up even on the days you don't feel like it, especially on those days. That's how real growth happens. Quietly, slowly, consistently. And in the end, it's not the most gifted who win, it's the most relentless. Comparison is a silent thief. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on your door, but it sneaks into your mind and steals something far more valuable than you might realize. Your ability to focus on your own progress. It's easy to get caught in the trap of comparing yourself to others. We live in a world where success stories are on display everywhere. Social media, news outlets, and even the conversations we have. It seems like everyone is living their best life, achieving their dreams, or making breakthroughs. And somewhere along the way, we start measuring our worth against theirs. And here's the problem. Comparison distorts your reality. It makes you forget that everyone's journey is different, that everyone's pace is unique. It tricks you into thinking that because someone else is ahead, you're falling behind. It makes you feel like you're not good enough, smart enough, or successful enough. And the more you focus on where other people are, the further you drift from where you want to be. What you don't see behind those polished photos and perfect captions is the struggle, the mistakes, and the hours of work that went unnoticed. No one shares the setbacks, the doubts, or the failures. Comparison doesn't show you the full picture. It only shows you the highlights, which are often the least authentic parts of a person's story. When you measure your progress against someone else's highlight reel, you miss out on the beauty of your own journey. You overlook the small wins, the steady improvements, and the lessons learned from your own struggles. But it goes even deeper than that. Constantly comparing yourself to others creates a sense of scarcity in your mind. It's as if someone else's success means there's less for you. It breeds jealousy, insecurity, and fear. Fear that you're running out of time or that there's not enough room for your own success. But the truth is, success isn't a finite resource. There's more than enough to go around for everyone. Your path is unique to you, and when you spend your time focused on others, you miss the opportunities that are right in front of you. The most dangerous part of comparison is how it stunts your growth. When you measure yourself against others, you stop celebrating your own progress. You're too busy looking at what you don't have instead of what you've already achieved. You overlook the small improvements, the skills you've developed, and the steps you've taken toward your own goals. Every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. A comparison makes those steps feel insignificant, like they don't matter. And when you start to believe that, you begin to lose the motivation to keep going. What if, instead of comparing yourself to others, you focused on your own growth? What if you measured your progress not by how you stack up against someone else, but by how far you've come from where you started? Progress isn't about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about being true to your own path and moving toward your own version of success. The truth is, you'll never reach your fullest potential if you're constantly looking over your shoulder, measuring your pace against someone else's. You'll always feel like you're falling short, and that feeling will keep you stuck, unable to move forward. But when you turn your focus inward, when you stop comparing and start celebrating the work you're doing, that's when real progress happens. When you stop worrying about what others are doing and start focusing on what you can do, that's when you find freedom. The only competition you have is the person you were yesterday. So let comparison be a thing of the past. Embrace your own journey, celebrate your own progress, and know that no matter how far behind you think you are exactly where you need to be. There is no race. There is only your path, your work, and your growth. That's where the real magic happens. Failure is a concept that most people fear. We're conditioned to view it as something to avoid, something to be ashamed of. We fear the judgment, the embarrassment, the idea that we might not be good enough. But here's a truth that's often overlooked. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a crucial part of it. In fact, failure is not just something we should tolerate. It's the price of admission to any meaningful success. If you're not failing, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. In a world that glorifies success and celebrates winners, we often forget that every successful person, every achievement, every breakthrough was built on a foundation of failure. What separates those who succeed from those who don't isn't the absence of failure. It's their ability to embrace it, learn from it, and keep moving forward despite it. Think about it for a moment. Every invention, every great piece of art, every new idea was tested, refined, and shaped through failure. The first airplane didn't fly on the first try. The first computer wasn't perfect. Every breakthrough we now take for granted came with countless moments of trial, error, and setbacks. The people who changed the world didn't do so because they were immune to failure. They did so because they refused to let it define them. They saw failure as part of the journey, not as a signal to quit. What most people don't realize is that failure is often the best teacher. It shows you where you need to grow, what you need to improve, and where your weaknesses lie. It forces you to face your limitations, to step outside your comfort zone, and to find creative ways to overcome challenges. Every failure is a lesson, and every lesson brings you one step closer to success. The mistake is in thinking that failure means you're on the wrong path, when in reality, it means you're exactly where you need to be. Failure also teaches resilience. The more you fail, the more you build the mental and emotional muscle to handle adversity. You develop a deeper understanding of what it takes to persevere, to get up when you're knocked down, and to keep going even when the road ahead is unclear. The process of failing, learning, and trying again strengthens you in ways success never will. In fact, without failure, success would be meaningless. It's the struggle, the setback, and the eventual comeback that gives success its depth and value. There's another side to failure that often gets overlooked. It allows you to take risks. The fear of failure keeps many people playing it safe, staying in their comfort zone, and avoiding anything that might lead to a stumble. But the truth is, without risk, there can be no reward. If you're constantly afraid of failing, you'll never reach your true potential. Failure is the price you pay for trying something new, for pushing boundaries, for stepping into the unknown. And without that willingness to take risks, your growth will always be limited. We've all heard stories of people who failed many times before achieving their dreams. The author who faced rejection after rejection before writing a best-selling book. The entrepreneur who lost everything before building a successful business. The athlete who faced countless setbacks before winning a championship. The common thread in all of these stories is that failure didn't stop them, it fueled them. They understood that failure is a step on the path, not the end of the road. Here's the reality. Success without failure is rare. The fear of failure can hold you back, but it's the willingness to fail and to keep going anyway that ultimately leads to growth, achievement, and success. Failure is not something to be feared. It's something to be welcomed. Because every time you fail, you're getting closer to the person you need to be in order to succeed. So instead of avoiding failure, embrace it. See it as the cost of doing something meaningful. Don't fear it. Learn from it. Use it to fuel your growth. Because failure is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's the price of admission to a life of purpose, achievement, and true success. The pursuit of success can be an incredibly isolating journey. We're often told that to reach the top, we have to be willing to go it alone. That the higher you rise, the fewer people you'll find on your level. We've all heard the phrases, it's lonely at the top. Success requires sacrifices. You can't take everyone with you. These phrases can be true, but they miss an important point. You don't have to climb alone to succeed. In fact, if you choose to climb alone, you may reach the top only to realize that the view isn't as fulfilling as you thought. True success isn't about reaching the peak by yourself, it's about lifting others as you rise. There's this misconception that success is a solitary pursuit, that to achieve your dreams, you have to shut out distractions, isolate yourself from others, and push forward with blind determination. While discipline and focus are crucial to success, it's also important to recognize that we are social beings. We thrive in connection with others. The relationships we build along the way, with friends, mentors, colleagues, and communities, are what give our achievements meaning. Success that is built alone may bring accolades, but it doesn't bring fulfillment. Success that is shared, that is achieved alongside others, brings not only joy, but a deeper sense of purpose. When you climb alone, the weight of success can feel heavier than it needs to be. You might achieve everything you've set out to accomplish, the title, the financial freedom, the recognition, but if you have no one to share it with, the sense of accomplishment can quickly fade. There's no one to celebrate with, no one to reflect with, no one to help you through the hard moments. Success can start to feel like a hollow victory when you realize that it hasn't enriched your relationships or helped you grow as a person. Instead, it has isolated you from the very people who could have made the journey more rewarding. Another challenge of climbing alone is the emotional toll it takes. Success, especially big success, can be overwhelming. The higher you climb, the more pressure you face, the more you have to lose. And without a solid support system, you can easily feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. If you don't have people who understand the challenges you're facing, who can offer advice, encouragement, or simply an empathetic ear, it's easy to become consumed by the fear of failure, the anxiety of holding it all together, and the loneliness that comes with it. The key to avoiding this loneliness at the top is to make your journey a shared one. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you, who support you. Build relationships that lift you up, not just professionally, but emotionally and personally. In these relationships, success becomes not just about what you achieve, but how you contribute to the growth and success of others. This is where true fulfillment lies, in knowing that your journey, your success, has been a force for good, has brought value to others, and has helped elevate those around you. Moreover, climbing with others allows for shared learning, shared challenges, and shared victories. The path to success is rarely smooth. It's full of obstacles, setbacks, and difficult decisions. Having a network of people who can offer insights, advice, and different perspectives can be a game changer. They can provide the support you need when things get tough, and they can help you see opportunities you might have missed. Success is not only about getting to the top, it's about getting there with the right people, learning from them, and helping each other along the way.